Today I'm going to show you how I make homemade from scratch lasagna for 2 people. This could also be for 1 with leftovers. Let me show you how I do it. I'm going to start by making the meat sauce. Here I'm chopping up 1 stick of celery. I'm going to add some carrot. This is 1 small carrot. I'm also going to chop up 1 shallot. You could use some white onion, just dice. Here I'm going to slice up 3 cloves of garlic. I'm going to start preheating a pan. And I'm going to add some olive oil, maybe like 2 tablespoons. Here I'm going to add my carrot, celery, and shallot. And I'm going to start to saute this. I'm going to add a pinch of salt just to help the saute. And you'll want this to become translucent and softened. I'm going to add 1 pound of lean ground beef. This is an 85-15 meat to fat ratio, and I'm just going to break that apart and brown. I'm going to add like a teaspoon of salt. I'm also going to add some dried basil, maybe like a half teaspoon. Here I'm going to add my cloves of garlic. I didn't add them to the saute because I didn't want the garlic to burn. So now I'm going to break apart the meat and cook everything. Here I have a 1/3 cup of red wine. I'll say that's optional. You don't have to add red wine to this, but it does add great flavor to the meat sauce. I'm also going to add like 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I actually should have added this and sauteed it with the meat before the wine. It is what it is. I'm just going to go with it. Okay, so I'm just going to mix that in and continue cooking and browning the meat. I'm going to be adding 24-ounce jar of tomato puree. I'm just going to pour that in. You could use your favorite pasta sauce. That works as well. So at this point, you'll want to taste it for salt and seasoning and adjust to your preference. Here, I'm going to add a little more salt, and I'm also going to add like a half teaspoon of sugar. I'll say that's optional. Here, I'm going to add some cracked black pepper, give that a mix, and I'm going to let this simmer over a low heat for about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to cover with a lid and just turn the heat down and let it simmer. For my lasagna, I'm using a bechamel sauce, so I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and I'm going to add 2.5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. This is going to be the roux and the base of this bechamel, and it's very easy. So after I add the flour, I'm going to mix and let this cook and combine over a medium-low heat for about 1.5 minutes. So now I'm going to add 3/4 cup of whole milk. If I need more, I can add a little bit more later, and I'm just going to give this a really good mix, and you'll let it gently simmer until it thickens. Here I'm going to add a pinch of salt. I'm also going to add a dash of white pepper. Sometimes I add a little pinch of nutmeg. It's up to you. I'm just going to give that a mix and see how it has thickened. Once it coats the back of the spoon, it's done. So I'm going to shut off the heat. And this is what I like to use in place of what some people might add, ricotta cheese. Also, a bechamel is easier to adjust to a small portion of lasagna. And like I always say, you'll want to taste it for salt and seasoning and adjust to your preference. So I'm going to show you how to make fresh pasta for 1, which is the perfect amount for this recipe. So, homemade pasta. I'm going with some all-purpose flour. You could use a higher quality flour, and I'm going with a 1/2 cup. This is about 75 grams of all-purpose flour. In the middle, I'm going to create a well. This is where you're going to put your egg. Okay, going in with 1 large egg, and I actually let it come to room temperature. I don't know if that makes a difference, but you know, it's a room temperature egg that I'm working with. And I'm going to crack it right into the center. And what I'm going to do is just take a fork, and I'm going to break the yolk and just sort of beat and scramble it right in the center. You want to make sure you keep it like in a bowl of flour. You don't want it to spill over the wall of flour that you've created in this well. This is what you want to do. You just mix, and it's sort of going to create a paste. You gather a little bit of flour, and you don't want to break the wall or the well that you've created. You want to keep it right in the center. And then when it becomes thick enough, you can sort of start mixing in the rest of the flour on the sides, but just keep it in the center. And you'll notice as I'm mixing it, it kind of gets thicker and thicker, so it's a lot easier to handle. Because if I let it spill all over my work surface, it kind of gets hard to keep it together. So just sort of start cutting in the flour into this paste-like mixture in the center, and the more that you mix the flour, the thicker it gets, and then you'll be able to work with it with your hands. And that's it. Literally half a cup of flour, 1 large egg, and you've got homemade pasta. It's so easy. And I've had comments in the past that they want to see me cook for 1 or 2 people. So here we go, making pasta for 1. For those of you that just moved out, those of you that are empty nesters, this is a great ratio to follow if you're making homemade pasta. Half a cup of flour and 1 large egg. And if you want to make this for 2 people, double this recipe. But today I'm showing you how easy it is to make pasta for 1 from scratch at home. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking and I'm just going to let you see how this comes together. I didn't really cut away, but I did speed things up. For those of you that just already know how to make pasta, you can kind of skip through the video, but this is for my people that are beginner cooks and sort of want to see the process. So here we go. So here I'm going to take just a little pinch of all-purpose flour and work that into the dough. And at this point, you'll want to knead and work in all of that flour until your dough is smooth on the surface like this. This is as good as it's going to get for me. So now you'll want it to rest. So my pasta has rested. And the best part about this, and some of you might not like this, a lot of you do love your kitchen gadgets and just want to press out and roll out the pasta with a machine. Not I. I love working with my hands, so dust your work surface with some flour and press it out, and we're going to use a rolling pin. And I'm just going to roll this out into a thin sheet of pasta. By the way, for those of you that like recipes that are for 1 or 2 people, in the comment section below, put some of the recipes you want to see me recreate in smaller portions. It kind of gives me an idea of what can be helpful for those that cook for 1 or 2 people. Okay, so I've rolled this out into a thin sheet of pasta, and the surface area of this sheet of pasta dough is enough for my lasagna recipe. So here I have a small round or oval baking dish. That's the size on the back. And I'm just sort of going to press this into the pasta dough, and I'll just cut these oval shaped pasta sheets. And I actually should have shaped it on the other side to make room, because I'm going to do 3 oval sheets of pasta. And I will have excess pasta. You definitely can boil that or save that. You kind of dry it out and store it for later use. I am just going to use it today for the lasagna. Okay, so I cut that out. And that's the first sheet. I'm going to do 2 more. Okay, so the baking dish is here. I'm going to add some of my meat sauce and place the first sheet of lasagna on top of that little meat sauce. And now let's start building this. Here I'm going to add some more meat sauce. By the way, my husband and son sort of ate some of the meat sauce. So for those of you making this at home, you can use it for this lasagna for 2 and save the rest for later. So now a spoonful of the bechamel and some Parmesan cheese. I'm going to grate that on top. And that's how I'm building the layers. Here I have another sheet of pasta going down, the meat sauce, and you'll spread that out, and some of the bechamel on top. It should be enough for 3 layers, some of the Parmesan, and then again, this is the last layer, sheet of pasta. You go with the meat sauce, the bechamel, Parmesan cheese, and then I'm going to top it with fresh mozzarella cheese. The key to the no boiling of the fresh pasta is to make sure there's enough moisture or water content or liquid to cook the pasta as it bakes. You definitely can pre-boil your fresh pasta, boil it in salted boiling water for about 2 to 3 minutes, shock it in an ice bath, remove it from the ice bath, and let it hang out until you're ready to use. I do the no-bake version, and it works well, but it really is up to you. So going on with the mozzarella, this is about 4 ounces of fresh mozzarella going on top. And I'm just sort of going to break it apart and puzzle it together on top to cover the surface area. I'm baking this in a preheated oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes, or until it looks like this. Just bubbly, ooey, gooey deliciousness. It smells amazing, looks amazing, and it's perfect for 2 or for 1 with leftovers. By the way, I love a good leftover lasagna. So I'm going to let this set for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then it's time to cut the first slice. So I'm ready to dig in, and the pasta cooked perfectly. You can serve this with your favorite crusty garlic bread and a side salad. It's a great meal. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.